Good morning. Oh, everyone's awake. That's so good. Thank you for coming on this not so beautiful day. It's a bit, gloomy-ish, but still hot, exactly. Thank God it's summer here, finally. So we are continuing with our lectures. Today the lecture is going to be done by Marcio. But before we start, we're going to have our initial prayer and reading done by our lovely friend. Thank you.
Where's the lovely friend?
Otto. Sorry, I forgot to mention his name.
Good morning, everyone. The reading today is from the book Happy Life from Divaldo Pereira Franco by Joana de Angelis. If someone is being accused of something, keep your silence. Most people have no idea what preceded events that occur. Things are not always as they seem, but rather are in keeping with an inner reality. Do not join in the chorus of accusers. The criminal and the unfortunate sinner deserve, at very least, consideration and a chance at re-education. And with this message in mind, let's close our eyes and let's relax. Let's thank God for the opportunity of being alive, for the opportunity of being here with our friends, incarnate and discarnate, to learn more about Jesus, about the gospel of love. And let's pray for Marcio, our friend, who is going to give us the lecture today, so that he is enlightened by God and by our friends from the spiritual realm. Let's also thank God for the opportunity to use this lecture of today, from today onwards, for the rest of our lives. And so be it. Marcio.
All right. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Let me just open here my notes. All right. So today we're going to talk about, are you a good soil for Jesus' seeds? That's a question that we should be asking ourselves all the time, right? And to get prepared for this lecture, I got this book here. Estudo Aprofundado da Doutrina Espírita would be a deep study of the Spiritism, right? That's a book from FAB, the Brazilian Spiritist Federation, that got exactly what I needed. So I was so glad to have this book in my house this time. And of course, I will bring to you guys also some messages that came from Emmanuel in different books that Chico Xavier have brought to us. Okay, so today will be all about this parable here. Let's quickly read through it so we can ground ourselves on it, and then we go and gonna study piece by piece of it. So let's go. That same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the lake. Such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat in it, while all the people stood on the shore. Then he told them many things in parables, saying, a farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rock places, where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly, because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched, and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Still other seed fell on good soil, where it produced a crop, 160 or 30 times what was sown. Whoever has ears, let them hear. I'm sure all of you have already read that, and we have in the Gospel according to Spiritism, in the chapter 17, that talks about the moral people, and it's all about we as spiritists, right, being the ones to go and help, because we are spiritists, right, but other religions as well, to go and spread Jesus' teachings to us. And Haroldo Dutra Dias, many of you may know him. He is a Brazilian spiritist. He has been in spiritism since his teenager years, and he has studied a lot about the gospel of Jesus. He does study. He even translated from the original books to Portuguese the gospel, and he did a lecture about this passage when the beginning of, I don't remember which year, but in the beginning of the systematic study that they do there in Brazil in Feb, and that lecture he started telling us that at that time the way that they do they sow the seeds there was just throw it away in the place that they want to have that, and then they start to work on the soil, different from what we used to do today, right? First we prepare the soil and then we put the seeds. So it was very interesting to understand that piece of the culture of that time, that it was what we should be always doing, right? Understand the culture, how things work at that time before read the parables, because it starts to make more sense, right? So now that we know, at least for me, it makes more sense to read this knowing that, because who would go and put all the seeds in a place that they know that it wouldn't work, right? But this is not about the material thing. It's about the seeds that God is sending all the time, and that's what we're gonna start now to understand. So let's go and let's read the first one again, and we're gonna analyze this one. That same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the lake. So let's start with the very first piece here. That same day, it shouldn't be in the Jesus. In my version, it's working very well. Anyhow, so that same day, it means that every day is an opportunity for us to renew ourselves spiritually, right? So when they start saying that, it was the object to say that we have many opportunities. Every single time we have an opportunity, every single moment we have an opportunity to renew ourselves. So with interaction with other people, we're gonna have that opportunity, right? And that's why he continues saying went out. Oh Lord, it's all wrong, but okay. It's when they say went out, so Jesus leave his home. He was working, he was acting, he was putting practice, and not just waiting people to come to him and ask for advice. He was out there, right? He was, and that tells us that we need to live and work in that sense. When I say work, is that we need to put in practice everything that we hear, that we learn. It tells us about perseverance, right? We know that Jesus was not understood at that time, but he was keep doing it. He was keep going out. He was keep looking for opportunities that he could tell the message that he gave to us, right? And as I said, I was helped by Emmanuel to do this lecture, and I'm gonna read a passage from the book Living Spring that comes from Emmanuel. 64. And Emmanuel will tell us it's necessary to tear down the old priest of the point of view and devote ourselves to serving our neighbor. As we learn the science of extracting ourselves from the dark of the jail of the self, we start a journey through the great continent called everyone's interest. And in its infinite expanse, we find the land of the souls, choked with thorns, filled with misery, covered with stones, or poisoned with mire, thus offering us a divine opportunity to act for the good of all. So the moment that we leave our homes, wake up that we are not alone anymore, right? That we start to, well, unless you live alone, so you'll be alone for a while. But I'm married, so the moment that I wake up, I have my wife there. There is starting the opportunities there, right? To do the good all the time. So we leave that moment that we are alone, we get to others, and he also said the land of the souls, right? That we give us the sense that it's not only the incarnated ones, it's the disincarnated that's around us, right? We're not only so maybe it's not, even if you live alone, you're not alone, you have the disincarnated spirits with you. And he continued, as we have said, the sower from heaven, Jesus, left his grounder and came to us to spread the light of revelation and to increase our vision and discernment. And even though he could have been replaced by thousands of masters, if he has wanted to, he humbled himself so that we could be exalted. And he put himself in darkness so our light might shine. Therefore, let us leave our inhibitions behind and learn with the Master to go out to soul. So, Jesus came. Jesus could send thousands of spirits to come here and give the same message to us, but he humbled himself to come and help us, right? So, that's what we should be doing as well. As we leave our homes, as we start to connect with other people, let's put our the goodness inside of us in practice, right? And it continues. So Jesus left the house, and when we say leave the house, we can understand that as our own mental cocoon. So we leave our selfishness. We start, as I was saying, start with working with others, helping others. So that's what it means when we leave the house. We leave our own interestings to give to other people, to hear, sometimes we think about, this is a practice of charity, right? Sometimes we think about charity as being giving something material, but sometimes just a hug, just, listen to someone else, that's what they may need, right? And finally, sat by the lake, so finally my square fits into the words. That means that the lake is, in Portuguese it's in the sea, right? The translation. But when he sat in the lake represents all the human experiences that we have, right? So he was there around a lot of people, and each and every person has a different experience in lives, right? And but that is a call to change. So Jesus was there around a lot of people that have many different experiences, different backgrounds, coming from different places, and then he was there to whoever wanted to change, to whoever listened to his call, and was ready to transform themselves, to understand a little bit more about the spiritual world and understand about God's laws, etc. So, if we go to the next one, it starts saying, such large crowds gathered around him. So, how Jesus could gather all of those people around him? It's because of his moral authority. When we talk about authority, we always think, someone that has the power to to command and to say and lead others, right? So Jesus' authority was moral. So he was inside him all the vibration of love. He was always emanate that love that he learned, and he through his existences. We know that Jesus has billions and billions of years, right? So he already perfect himself, so he has all that love that we're still trying to understand what is inside of him, and he was expelling that, and that was attracting other people. Whoever has the desire would connect to that, right? If we think about the connections that we do, the ties of sympathy that we do with other people, it's all based on what we think, what we want, what we have inside of us. So everyone who was connecting to love wants to transform and to have a better life, spiritually saying, would be connected to Jesus, would feel that, could connect to that and say, yes, I want to learn more about it, and would go to Jesus, right? So that's how Jesus easily gathered people around him, right? We saw in many different passages in the gospel that Jesus was surrounded of people, and those people want to learn more, right? And that moral, as I was saying, is coming from the moral authority coming from his love. And if we recall, on the Gospel according to Spiritism, the Be Perfect, the chapter 17, it talks about the moral persons. There is an entire session of the chapter talks about it. And in the very beginning it says, the moral person is that who practices the law of charity, love, and one more thing that I forgot right now, but it's Jesus has all of that, and he got all of that with working hard, right? And then it continued that the people were stood on the shore, right? So it means that the people that were there was ready to listen to Jesus, was ready to take Jesus' teachings and put in practice. They were willing to change, right? And that was making me think about the military, right? Every time that someone with moral upper level than you, what do? They stand and was firmly positioned until the person say, all right, relax, you can release from that pose. And they put in that position very straight, and that was something to me that says, okay, so they're ready to go, they're ready to take the order of that the person that is more prepared, or and that can, well, that's the authority that person has, military saying. But Jesus, in the case of Jesus has this love right inside of him, and people was there ready to take whatever Jesus would have to teach that day and put in practice, right? So it was very interesting to see that in the explanation from Fab. So if we go ahead to the next one, it says, then he told them many things in parables. And let's remember what parables is, right? Why Jesus was always talking in parables, and just after this part of this chapter in Matthew, the apostle was really asking them, why you talk to people in parables? Why don't you go straight and tell them what they need to know? And if we think about the way that we explain things to kids, we always tell a story, right? There's something that they can resonate, can understand it better. So it's the simplicity of a parable is that what help people us, right, at that time to understand it. And it's still today. How many times we're trying to explain something and we give an example, a real example. So parables is nothing else than using those daily things that happen in their lives to explain what Jesus wants. So nothing was hide. We can think today that it is hiding because it's in parables and we don't understand very well, but it's it's because it's not our reality today. It's not what we're living today. If Jesus was here today, he would use probably internet, Wi-Fi, Facebook to explain. His part was all about those things that we are used to, right? And then it continues by saying, a farmer went out to sow his seed. So who's the farmer, right? Who's that farmer that he is talking about? So we can understand that as the farmer would be Jesus for us, right? So God is the owner of the farmer, the one who created everything, and he is spreading his seeds everywhere. But we think about Earth, the planet that we are right now, right? Jesus is our that we study through Spiritism. It's our governor who helped to create Earth, who is in command of Earth to help us to grow and become Christs as well, because all of us has the potential to be Christs as well. In the Spirit magazine that Kardec wrote in February of 1868 through the Spirit Lacordaire, he says, next to God are numerous spirits who got to the top of the scale of pure spirits. So it means to us that Jesus is not the only one, right? So there is we have so many planets, so each planet may have their own Christ helping God. So, and he continues, which they deserve to be initiating God's plan to drive its execution. So we are all co-creators with God. We all have a responsibility to help God to get to his master plan that we don't know. But the Christs, those that is so pure that could be closer to God, they have a special work. They are co-creating even closer to God than we are today, right? So God choose among them those elevated spirits to be in charge of special assignments. So they help God to kind of engineer, right? They are engineers and helping to put all the universe together and helping to take care of each earth, etc. So that's the mission for Jesus, to help us to be here in this planet, helping all of us. And then he said, you can call them Christ. So it's just a name. So Christ is just a name. We could call whatever we want, right? So and that came from a question to the Spirit. So it's Christ. What is Christ? Is Christ the only one? Jesus is the only Christ. So that help us to understand that this farmer Jesus, he's not alone, but he is the one who will send us all the seeds that we need. So the last piece is what that seed is, right? What is Jesus saying to us? What is God saying to us all the time that we need to grow? So that's the God's laws. In the Spirit's book, we study the laws, the Spirit's laws, and that help us to understand a little bit more of this spiritual world, what we need to do, right? And for sure, that's the beginning. That's what we need right now. That laws probably will evolve, and we're gonna learn more as we get prepared. Spirit's book was written about 200 years ago, and we still study. So it take a while. So let's not be worried about it. Is there much more to learn? Yeah, much more to learn for sure. But let's try to get that right. And the seeds are every opportunity that we get in life to do something good. That's what God is giving to us every second. We just need to realize that's not easy. I'm not saying that it's easy to understand all the message that is coming to us. I hope if it was, but we still have a lot to go through and understand. We are all imperfect yet, right? But the seeds are there. And Jesus is helping us all the time. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. So that's the first soil. That's the first type of soil that we could be if we being in earth, being incarnated. Even just incarnated, but let's talk about the incarnated people here. So what soil do we want to see? We're gonna go through the steps and see the different ones when we need to define if we are a good one or not. So this soil here represent those who hear about the gospel, but then they ignore it. You know, they had opportunity through a friend, a family. They know about the gospel. They know about Jesus. Some religions, they may not know about Jesus as we know, but they have the opportunity to know about the God's laws, and they just ignore it. They say, no, it's not for me, and go away from that. So they had a chance to do something, and they ignore it. They do nothing. You know, that's the other way to see it, because one thing is to hear, right? We may say that once you hear the lessons of Jesus, you could transform your life. But even if you don't hear anything, we have everyday opportunity to do something good. So are you doing all the good that we could do, right? Those people in that type of soil, they will not take those opportunities, right? They will ignore them. And that represents all the materialists, right? In all times, you know, it's the materialists at the time of Jesus, the materialists today, the materialists that we're gonna have 100 years from now. So the lesson here, I think, that is that even though we have those people that are not doing anything with the seed, God and Jesus, they continue sending, right? Continue spread the seeds, continue giving the opportunity for us. And the lesson is that we could see that's ingratitude, and we could say why Jesus would continue helping these guys, right? You know, that's a lesson for us to understand that we should be doing our part regardless of what we call ingratitude from others, right? We should continue doing our best to help others, even if we think that they've been ungrateful to what we are doing for them. So it's very clear that Jesus and God is not stopping their work, so why we would, right? And the solution for this type of soil, for this type of people, is really the incarnation, right? That's another beautiful lesson that we got in Spiritism. How, you know, we know that we still have opportunities through the different incarnations that we go through to get that seed and transform into something else, right? And then they have another type of soil. Some of them fell on rock places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow, but when the sun came up, the plants was scorched and they withered because they had no roots. So those stones, for sure this person, this spirit would be better positioned than the previous one, but these stones that we have in place, and we could say that it's in all of us because we are still imperfect spirits, right? We're still in a planet of expiation and trials. But those stones indicate the mental forms that are crystallizing in us. So those are ideas and behaviors that we keep cultivating, and we have been doing that for many different lives that we went through. So as we learn more about the truth, we have more knowledge, we grow morally, we can start to break those stones, right? And I'm gonna read another passage from the book The Way, the Truth, and the Life that talks a little bit about this. Bear with me. So, again, The Way, the Truth, and the Life, chapter 35, Sowing. Kardec, Emmanuel tells us, many spirits from one physical body to the next continue on earth, recapitulating their lives over and over again for millennia. Incorrect sowing has conditioned them to so-called dying in sin. They spend their days redeeming half debits, but fail once more by sowing correctly again. Their existence is a large, vicious circle, because evil enroots them to the scorching and arid soil of unproductive passions. Only the good can confer the garland of supreme freedom, since it represents the only key that can open the scary doors to the infinite for the ancient souls. Therefore, let us be careful each day, for once evil or good has been sowed, it will grow right along with us according to the laws that govern life. So that's what we need to be careful every time and look to inside of us what we have been doing, during our inner transformation. What we have been doing, what things we need to change till we start the taking that stones away, right? And this morning I was watching a movie that not a movie, a video that tell us that we tend in companies we tend to interrupt more frequent women instead of men, right? So that's a behavior that we have all the time. So that shows how we have treating the women. So that's something that it's all of us, right? It's part of our society. Can we change that? Yes, we can, right? So there's things that sometimes it sounds normal. That seems like we do all the time. So we need to start to identify those small things and transform every day, right? He also saw about the soil was shallow. So it's this kind of soil can be germinated very quickly, but the roots will not be sustained. So the reason why the seed and the tree or whatever we have planted there will not grow, it's because they don't have the nutrients that they need. And bring it to us, that's what we need to think as well. So is our soil, are we giving the vitamins, the nutrients, the water that we need as a soul to continue growing? And what is that? For us in Spiritism, it would be the gospel at home, being here, watching the lesson, the lectures, participating in studies. It would be reading a book, watching things at home, trying to nurture ourselves with those elements that can help us to continue getting watering the seed that God gave to us. Because it's easy for us to forget, we on Wednesday we left here because there is a group of people that have been doing that study for a while and have read the Gospel according to Spiritism 3-4 times already. But every time that we go through that, we learn something else. We understand something differently, because the experience that we go, and it's also keep reminding us about the lessons from Jesus. It's not every day that we watch something in TV that has a good lesson for us, right? Most of the time, if you're watching news, what you see? Bad things happening, right? It's all about bad things. So we need that other element that help us to. It's important for us to know what's happening in the world, of course. I'm not saying do not watch the news anymore, but we need to continue feeding ourselves with those elements that come from God, right? So I encourage all of you to do your gospel at home at least once a week. but more frequently as possible, and especially when we're going to something, a hardship in our lives. If something is not quite right, that's the moment that we need the most that water that comes from God, right? So those teachings, keep connected to Jesus' teachings, because that will help us to remind all the lessons, right? So when we are looking for those messages, we're gonna find it easily at a Facebook post, listening to music, talking with a friend. So coming here and hearing a lecture, or hearing participating in a study, those things that we need, it will come. So don't forget, the moment that we need the most of the spiritual support is when we are there in the hardship, right? So keep it going. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. So what the thorns would be? It was our vices, right? All the bad habits that we had, the proud, selfishness, intolerance, vanity. So those vices are and the thorns were those things that make the path easy, because going in the stage that we are, it's much easier sometimes to be materialist than being on the path of Jesus. And those people there is in this type of soil, they hear the message, and they, instead of taking and do what they could do with all of that, they prefer to go and go to the material world, right? So they may take this, they may take the lesson and be excited about it, but at the end, they don't do anything with that. All the hardship that goes in life, they start to say, yeah, I agree with everything that I'm reading here from Jesus, but you know what? It's much easier if I go and continue having the habits that I have, right? So let's not lose those opportunities. Let's keep in mind that God is to get to there will not be that simple, but it will be much rewarded for us. So I'm gonna read another passage from the book The Way, the Truth, and the Life, 49. When Emmanuel saying, so the chapter name is Knowing and Doing. There is a big difference between knowing and doing. Nearly everybody knows, but few do. Generally speaking, all religious sects only teach what constitute the good. All of them have officials, believers, and disseminators, but true disciples are becoming scarcer and scarcer. There are always voices capable of pointing out the way. It is the word of those who know. Few individuals courageously enter upon the path. They often do so in silence. They are forsaken, misunderstood. This is the supreme effort of those who do. Jesus understood the indecisiveness of Earth's children, and transmitting the word on the truth and the life to them, he set the ultimate example with his final sacrifice. So, as I was saying, it's not only about knowing everything, it's about doing something with that knowledge, right? So we can be here, we can all understand Jesus' teachings, we can all understand the Spirit, the God's laws, right? But what are we doing with that? Are we putting practice? Are we doing everything that we learned? So that's what we need to keep thinking and asking ourselves, right? And then finally, we have the good soil, right? Still other seed fell on good soil, where it produced a crop. So let's stop with the good soil. So the good soil, I was saying, is those people that take action with the knowledge that they got. Take action when they hear the lesson from Jesus and they start to spread out the word, right? And they walk the cloak. So they do what they are saying, right? And then he continued 160 or 30 times. So that has helped us to understand that we are all in different levels, right? Well, more or less we are all on the same level. If you think in average, we are all on the same level with the same planet, right? But that could represent the different levels of spirits that we have in the universe, right? So we have Jesus, who is producing 100%, and we have others like us that probably they're in the 30%. But it's better than nothing. Yeah. So that's what it's an infinite scale, but that's what we need to take in consideration, that it doesn't matter, we are in the level of progression that we're gonna fail, we're not 100% yet, we're gonna fail, and that's okay. The point is, let's not give up, let's continue doing. We're gonna see many obstacles in front of us all the time, but let's not give up, right? And then again, what is the book now? Still The Way, the Truth, and the Life. Emmanuel tells us another lesson that's called fruits. So we're not on the seeds anymore, and start to analyze the fruits. And it says, with its lofty characteristics of intelligence, today's words need fruits in order to test the seed of principles. Because of this, Christians need to learn a lesson from the good tree, which receives the elements of divine providence through its sap and makes them useful for God's creatures. Make an effort at self-analysis is necessary so that we may identify the quality of our actions. So let's pause for a second here. So we are producing fruits here, right? Every day. The question is, good fruits or not, right? And that's what, it's not for me, for any of us to judge the other's fruits, but to judge our own fruits. And that's what we do when we analyze, okay, what I did during my day, right? A lot of fine sounding words simply give the impression of the fig tree that Jesus condemned. Therefore, it is indispensable for us to know the fruits of our lives so that we can tell whether or not these fruits are beneficial to our brothers and sisters. Now I say another important piece here, that it's beneficial to our brothers and sisters. So it's not about us. So what I'm doing is good for me, right? So we're going to analyze that and see if the fruits are good, if that is beneficial to others, right? If you're helping others. And that goes back to the charity that we talked about a little bit, right? So if you go to the Kardec's book, The Gospel According to Spiritualism, all about charity, we're going to see it's not about us, it's about others. Earthly life represents a vast opportunity with plenty of doors and horizons to light eternal. Within their various circles, men and women can receive sap from the Most High each and every day and transform it into fruits of the divine nature. Obviously, today's world is in dire need of a divine teachings, but it can learn nothing without practical examples, especially because ever since ancient times, wisdom has told us that the hardest thing for people to do in the physical world is to live and die faithful to the supreme good. So another thing here that he says, acting. We talked about that already, right? So it's not about only being here and talking about Jesus' teachings. It's about putting practice what Jesus told us, right? And finally, it ends with, whoever has ears, let them hear. So that's an alert for us about what we have been talking. It's not about just listen. It's about identify the opportunities to learn, to improve ourselves. Those who really hear the message, they're not regretting anything. They're not complaining. They know that they're gonna have difficulties in their lives, and they will continue producing their fruits. They will overcome that somehow. So to finish, I go back to the book, The Way, the Truth, and the Life, on the lesson 174. No, I'm sorry. Not that book. It's on the book Our Daily Bread, that talks about on the path. So Emmanuel said, Jesus is our permanent path towards divine love. Along with him follow, filled with people, all the spirits of goodwill, sincere followers of the sacrificing path. On that blessed and eternal path, the seeds of the celestial light proceed for the ordinary man. Constant observation of the path for everyone is imperative in order that the treasures do not slip by unnoticed. The sacrificing seed will always arrive in the most varied circumstances. Just as occurs to the generous wind that spontaneously spread among the plants, the principle of life, an invisible kindness distributes in all hearts the opportunity of ascending the road of love. Usually, the divine spark appears in ordinary daily activities, such in a book, in a significant incident at work, or in a useful observation of a friend. If harmful herbs occupy the soil of your heart, and if you have already received the celestial principle, cultivate it with devotion, sheltering in the garden of your soul. The human verb may fail, but the word of the Lord is eternal. Accept it and comply with it, because you flee away from the imperative of eternal life. At some point, the angel of anguish will visit your spirit, indicating new routes to you. So, again, God and Jesus is sending in our way everything that we need to be successful in this life, to do the good. So let's try to work hard and identify what those things are, right? What is helping, what God is telling us to help us to be a better person. Okay? And that's it for today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. We still have a couple minutes if anyone have any question, comment, anyone online. Nope.
I'll just make a comment. We all have this soil in us, right? So it's up to us to put this in practice every day. So just as you said, Marcio, be aware and be alert to the things that is happening in our lives around us. People that, not only the people from our immediate connections, but even people far that we don't know. Sometimes we are putting seeds, in places that the birds, as the parable show, come and take away. It's still a creation of God who is taking that seed and taking away. So maybe it will regenerate in a different way. Maybe it will be taken to another soil. Who knows? Sometimes if a year comes death, that year will a long way will be hearing again. So it's up to us. We have to continuously do this.
Yeah.
And I think just to comment on your topic, I think it's a matter of us knowing that nothing is wasted, right?
Exactly.
Like everything you do, if you do with a good intention, at some point it will help someone, or you help yourself in the first place, right?
Exactly.
Because when we do the good, we feel good, and nothing is better than feeling good, right? So at least like you have that. If the other person took or not, their problem. You did your part, right? And the more you do, the more you feel better. And one day someone will take advantage of that and will start doing as well and spreading.
Exactly.
Yes, and changing is all about the comfort zone.
Yeah.
It's very hard to come
Yeah.
out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is. It's true.
Yeah. I know.
Maybe we should start thinking, I think instead of being so scared that we all are, right, when we want to change, because when we think of changing, we think on the big step, right? Like we think, okay, I want to be Jesus. Like, no. Just think like, not even Chico Xavier. Just think like, I want to do a baby step. I want to start crawling now. And go like one by one. And like, don't pull yourself down when you fail, because that's how we learn, right? We decide that the best way of learning is by hurting ourselves.
Yes.
So accept that and be like, yeah, I learned, move on and keep going. We are gonna fall many times, but as long as we keep standing up and walking towards the good, we're gonna succeed no matter what. Okay, so thank you everyone. Thank you for those who joined us online. We're gonna set up to do the classes. Hope to see you guys next week again. Thank you, Marcio.